All right, here we go live. Mike Price, Stacey Wyatt, top producer series. What's up, Stacey?
What's up, big dog?
Hey, man, just, managing the challenges of our current market, right?
Absolutely.
So we're in a little tougher market now. You and I have been talking. We talk pretty much daily, almost. Pretty much several times a week. The market's a little challenging now. It's different than it has been in the last 5 or 6 years, especially the last couple of years. Seeing a lot of little more difficult to find the motivated sellers, a little more difficult to find the right house. Buyers have more choices. The interest rates have gone back up again. They hit the 7 mark again, which has kind of stalled a lot of things out. So, today and every day, what are we doing? We're trying to figure out how to manage things, how to find more people, how to service our current clients. So let's talk about that a little bit. Like, tell me about what you're seeing on your end, running your team and all the people in your group. What are you seeing on your side?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we're experiencing the market a little different than quite a few agents in the market. This is not our first rodeo. We actually got in the market, I got my license in 2009, and arguably the worst market in our history, probably the worst market hopefully we'll ever see. So, we built something coming out of a extremely difficult market. And if there was anything I learned over the course of the next, decade, was that people still need to buy, sell, regardless of what's going on. So where, the rates may have eliminated a smaller swath of buyers or parked some sellers on low interest rates, people still have life events, right? They're getting married, they're having babies, they need more space, they're getting relocated because of work, family, all of that. So whether the market's up, whether the market's down, I think the more established agents that are, are marketing based and then prospecting enhanced, meaning, we've got a pretty strong marketing machine out there, branding machine that we're out. And then we enhance it with all of our lead gen activities, and our agents are calling our leads. We're doubling down on those efforts. So we're off to probably our best start ever in any given year. Now, contrast that with a lot of agents that are looking for salaried positions. The market's got really difficult. And the agents that have joined the business, because there was a massive influx of agents since COVID, right? Mm-hmm. Whatever their opinion was of getting the jab and, their employers dictating it, or they were wanting to stay at home and work now that a lot of employers are mandating to go back to work. For all those reasons, the agent count has increased by, I think, like 60%.
Yeah.
Well, if they've been in the, if they've joined in the market in the last 3 or 4 years, it's been a fairly easy market, right? Yeah. Now, we were still outperforming, and even though it was easy, what I'll say the average agent, that average agent that's only known a really good market didn't build the skills necessary, for the most part, that will help them navigate this market. So we're in a skill-based market, and I think a lot of agents that I'm talking to aren't real, because it is a confusing market. It's a really confusing market because of low inventory, high demand, high rates, right? You would think that it would be more of a buyer's market, but it's not. So it's really one of the most confusing markets I've ever seen. I think we understand it where it's at. But I think for most agents who've only known an up market are at a period where they're struggling and they're not sure how to lead the conversations with their clients. They're not sure, what the best advice is. Should they buy now? Should they wait? Should they sell now? Should they wait? All of those questions. Those are the ones that I'm seeing are becoming the big part of the conversations with agents. So I think there's a little bit of fear for a good amount of real estate agents out there that are not really sure how to navigate it.
Well, to kind of touch on that a little bit, what you said about the agents, having a lot of agents are 4, 5, 6, 7 years in the business and only seen an incredible market. I think one of the key things that's missing is mastering the basic fundamentals. For the most part, mastering the very basics of the of real estate, and that is, running your business like a business, working off your schedule, time blocking for the most important things in your day. Hopefully early in the morning. Learning your craft, learning scripts, learning what to say, not only to get study appointments, but learning what to say in the appointment so you can best serve folks. And a lot of people have gotten away or try to get away from the telephone, and the very basic fundamental, just getting in conversation with folks. And I think that's a large part why agents are struggling. They don't really know what to do.
Well, here's a funny one. I say this all the time. Most agents go on appointments and practice on their clients because they're not doing the practicing their scripts and dialogues and understanding how to articulate what is happening in the market. Like, they need to think of themselves in some senses as a consultant, because the people that come to us understand that we've been doing this for a long time. We've succeeded in an up market and a down market. What I'm seeing is the difference between, I've a lot of different teams I watch, like Anthony Lamakia's team, a lot of different teams out there, like they're practicing every single day.
Yeah.
And people have this weird thing with scripts and dialogues and all this. Listen, if you can't articulate what's happening in the market and help guide a buyer through somewhat of a challenging market, or prep a seller to understand that, hey, you can't really have all that you want your cake and eat it too, but you can get most of it. They're going into the appointments practicing on their clients. And that is a terrible way to do business, because if you and I go on that same appointment, we're highly likely walking away with that listing or that buyer, because we can articulate it with confidence, leave them with one or two strategies, and they're going to, wow, these people know what they're talking about. This is who I want to hire. So I do that. We talk about that a lot because our team practices a lot on talking about the difficulties in the market, the opportunities of the market, how to navigate them. So when we have our opportunity in front of a client, we don't waste it. We don't practice on them, which I'm seeing a lot of agents have never practiced because it's been quote unquote easy.
Well, back to scripting. I mean, you have done a great job. I think 26 or 27 months in a row, you've had a script battle, which I participated in last month. And I was one of the sellers, one of the judges and sellers. But we brought in our modern agent group, we brought some new people in there that had never been there. And they were terrified to be in a room full of 20 people on stage doing, not really on stage, but under the spotlight. But every one of them at the end of it said, that's the best thing I've ever done. Because they realized that they need to know these things. Correct. And the winner was a brand new agent that never been there, Taylor Hoseman, who had never done that before. And so, you don't ever want to practice on your clients. You always want to practice and role play with your team or with a role play partner. So when you get there, you're not flubbing all over the place and screwing it up.
Well, I think agents, right, which is funny to me, I was like this at the beginning too. Agents are like, scripts, oh, that sounds very salesy, right? Yeah. It's very salesy. No, if you really dig down to it, like on the surface, yes. And usually it's a fear-based response, right? Well, I don't want to sound salesy. Not going to sound salesy. You better learn how to articulate what's happening in this market to help provide serious counsel, like solid counsel. We're talking, for the majority of people that buy and sell, it is their largest asset. And if you're not looking at their money like it's your money and can articulate how to deploy that, right, they're not going to want to hire you. And they flub it. Our team, new agents that come into this, especially on our team, because even if they join us and then it's day 3 that they're with us, and our next objection battle is 3 days after they join, too bad. They're sitting in the hot seat, and I put them under a lot of pressure. But I ask all the tough questions, and we usually doing it based on what are the realities of today's market, right? If I'm a buyer and I just saw that rates went over 7%, holy crap. If a buyer needs to buy, how are we going to help them, right? There's strategies out there to buy down. There's a lot of different things that we can do to position them to still get where they want, because the one thing we do know, prices are still going up, especially in Atlanta. They are not coming down anytime soon. They're adjusting, right? And they're flat. They're getting a little more flat, but we're going to stay flat to 3 to 6% in Atlanta. A lot of people are moving here. We have no inventory. And so it's going to continue to tick up just at a slower pace. So we're getting back to a more healthy market. But in that interim, agents are really going to have to figure out how to articulate. So long and short of it is, those objection battles, those scripting all it is practicing on each other, on the professionals, to make sure when we are ready to explain it to a client, we're not going, well, good, I don't know, right? We know exactly the strategies that we can deploy, and we can articulate them to help guide people where they need to go. Because there's a lot of people that have to buy and sell, and within a confusing market, they don't want to know. So they don't know what to do. So they need a pro to help guide them. So that's where I think helping these agents. And as you know, we started, we have a monthly mastermind, private mastermind at my office where, me, you, and our whole modern agent crew, some of our teammates all join us. And we're talking about the realities of the market on a monthly basis. And what are the things we're doing to help them, among other things. But usually the topic of conversation is like current market and how we're helping each other to navigate it.
Well, there's, touch on the seller and buyer thing real quick. What you just said, agents hear this, people that are buying and sell their homes, it doesn't matter what they do for a living or how great they are at their career. They're reaching out to us because they need our help. And this is a huge, huge financial and emotional, thing for them. And they're going to go with somebody who they feel can help them. And if you don't know what you're talking about or don't know your numbers, and you're going to struggle, and you don't want to, like Stacey said a minute ago, you said, don't practice in the appointment. Yeah. Know what you're talking about. And then
you brought up a good point there. And so I don't forget it, because, I'll forget it, is that's financial and emotional. Yeah. And I don't think agents understand how emotional this process can be, especially like one of the most terrifying is you have to sell before you buy, and you're doing it at the same time, right? And trying to align closing, and the amount of stress and pressure, and selling one house, getting the other house ready, getting the kids moved, maybe you're transferring schools. That is a massive stress. And what I'm seeing is for the agents that are not emotionally grounded or have a high, EQ, they're matching emotion with emotion. Well, we're hired to be the unemotional advisor, to where we've been there before. We can suck the emotion off the transaction for them, right? Or the relationship, to help take that away from it. And a true pro can do that. And then the financial piece, you and I do that in our sleep now to help guide them from A to Z, right? But I think the emotional piece goes, I don't think a lot of agents think about that, because unfortunately their emotions are high.
Yeah.
They add that to the situation, just adds additional stress. And I'm seeing that a little more now because everybody's a little more tense. Yeah. That they're just adding additional stress to the transaction versus helping taking that off and helping the buyer or seller's journey be a little less stressful, because they know you got it. And even if they come at you with some crazy stuff, or they're in a tough spot and they yell at you, whatever it is, we understand, like, we're pros. Like, we get this as a stressful process, and I can take a little bit of the beatings. I mean, I've got war wounds, you got war wounds to prove it. But that's why they hire us, because they know we can, quote unquote, put them on our shoulders and get them from A to Z. So I didn't want to leave that emotional piece of it. And I think a lot of agents really need to focus, even if they got a high IQ in real estate, that EQ cannot go unchecked, because this is a highly emotional process. Last time I checked.
Well, you've got to be prepared. You've got to have empathy. You've got to understand, you got to put yourself in their shoes. And it's hard to do that, when, every house you put on the market in the last couple of years sold in one day with 17 offers. Yep. You don't understand what it's like to have a house on the market, 2, 3, 4 weeks and have to make 1, 2, 3 price reductions. Yeah. And what that does to a seller's mental state, a seller that has to make a price reduction, that is, they are losing money in their mind. And we know that the money was never there. The market didn't accept that, but it's all those things that you have to be able to do and articulate. And that's why it's so important, like the masterminds we do, like the script battles that we do in person, the masterminds that we do in person, the masterminds that we have in our fast forward group that we do every Monday, that are invaluable. I mean, I can't put a dollar amount on that. Solo agent masterminds every Tuesday, lady leader masterminds every Wednesday. Like, if you're not in the room plugged in with people that are doing it at a much higher level and sharing information, you're going to be left behind. I mean, and that's just all there is to it.
Correct. Well, and I think most agents are sitting out either on an island, and honestly, in a lot of big brokerages, agents can get lost very easy, right? Because there's usually like one team leader, one managing broker, maybe an assistant team leader, an assistant managing broker. And I mean, let's face it, the majority of them, and this is not a knock on them because there's some really great people sitting in those seats, they haven't sold a house in 10 years, 15 years, right? They don't know what the reality is. A lot has changed in the last 2 years. A lot of changes in the last 7 years. I mean, I'll argue if you were in the business 7 years ago and you haven't changed and morphed, you're getting left behind or out of the business, right? From digital marketing, technology, a lot of different structural changes in the business. So agents, and I'm going to say brokers, especially the smaller brokers, dude, they got to start plugging. They got to get within a group that is going to help guide you through, someone that's doing a high level of transactions, helping people navigate this market. And that's why we have, on Monday, what do we have? Like average 700 people on that call. And these are some of the top agents in the country. So we're hearing what's going on in San Diego and Atlanta and Birmingham and Charlotte and New York, all over the country. So we know what's happening all over the country. We're all sharing tactics and strategies on not only how to navigate the market, but how to build stronger teams, serve sellers and buyers at a higher level. Like you said, Tuesdays, there's a lot of solo agents come in that are not, they're not insane like you and I want to grow, large real estate teams. Well, they have their own challenges, right? From leverage and lifestyle and being married to a job or owning a job, right? Versus owning a business.
Right.
Well, Tuesday, they can hop on the solo mastermind calls, which it's a bunch of, it's all the solo agents sharing what are their struggles. How are you winning at this? Right. Well, then it becomes Wednesdays, the leverage calls, because those are the operation calls, right? Where our operation people are on that going, hey, how are you supporting Mike? How are you supporting Stacey? How are you supporting Tina? How are you supporting Kyle? Like that's where they get into the nitty gritty of all the stuff that makes us look good behind the scenes. Right. And it's Wednesday. And then the third Friday of every month, we do a local private mastermind in my office where we all huddle up and talk about the realities of what's happening in Atlanta. Right. So we've got the communities and honestly, the track records, because the agents that have joined, us at EXP that are, let's say, in our community, in our ecosystem now. I mean, I think collectively we did a little over 200 million last year. We've got a lot of younger, newer agents, and honestly, some senior agents that are really starting to grow teams to where you and I can pour into them, share our strategy, share our tactics, share our playbook to help them grow. And so I think when agents are looking around and they're like they're at the brokerage going, the guy at the girl in the corner office that used to talk to me, she's not willing to share as much because they're struggling in the market, right?
Right.
The broker, there's one broker for 500 agents in an office.
Yeah.
They don't have the time because they're dealing with all the other headaches of running a brokerage. This is where we get into these smaller communities built with top producers. This is la creme de la creme. So you would pay $1,000 in probably a month or a call in some cases, depending who the coach was, to get any of this information. And we're doing it every week. And if you're part of our, ecosystem, you're hopping on those for free. Like if I had to carve out that amount of time, I mean, I charge $500, for an hour phone call just to put that information out there because that's how valuable our time is. Well, we've got people that are highly invested in us that do it every Monday religiously. Even I think they've done it a couple on some holidays. So it's a really, really strong group of top producers that have helped us grow our businesses.
Well, every time we do one of these StreamYard calls like we're doing right now, and we talk about the masterminds, I get 5 or 6 DMs saying, well, what's this thing you're talking about, this mastermind, and can I be a part of it? And I've invited probably, 50 or 60 people like you to these things. And the first thing they say is, wow, we don't get that at our brokerage.
Yeah.
Like we don't have this kind of thing. And
the word mastermind has become a little ubiquitous, right? Like everybody throws around some mastermind. I mean, I'm going to argue that it's some of the highest unpaid coaching and training you'll ever get anywhere, right? And it's from top producers. It's not watered down. Let's slap 50 agents on a call from somebody, not being mean here, but somebody hasn't sold a home in 7 or 8 years and doesn't maybe not truly understand. Are there people that can 100%, right? But down in the nitty gritty out there in the mire on the streets that are seeing what we're seeing every single day. And I think that gives an advantage to a lot of agents in a lot of different ways.
One of the things I like about the way our fast forward mastermind works on Mondays, it's the big one, is the questions are submitted in advance. And so it's not some talking head up there going, do this. It's questions about people like somebody in Iowa or somebody in Georgia or Alabama. What are you seeing here? And then whoever the expert is in the group, which there's usually 10, multiple people will speak up that are doing that at the highest level. And then, oh, by the way, here's your playbook. Here's a link to my site, or here's a link to whatever, that you can take this material and take it home with you for free. It's 100%. The trial and error method is a very expensive and long journey. And that's what most agents live their life. We did, you and I, that's how we came up, the trial and error. I mean, we could buy Lamborghinis for what we spent on mistakes. And to be able to plug into a group that has that, and you don't have to wonder anymore. You just have to ask somebody that's doing it at, like you and I can tap into. I can name 20 people right now that are doing 300 and 400 units a year.
Yeah.
And that we can call them right now and ask them a question. And then, just get on the worst case scenario, we get on the calendar for 30 minutes and talk to them, and they'll walk us through it. Yeah. I mean, that's huge. That's 5 digits in spending that we won't have to do to try to figure it out.
Yeah. Well, and outside of just the money spent, it's the time. And I argue now it's, taken, 10 years to get, to build what we've built. Well, I'm going to argue if somebody actually plugged into our crew and were focused on it, they can do it in 4 years. I think they can build what we have in 4 years.
Yes.
Because they're going to skip all the trial and, error.
Yep.
They're going to now. Some people, we can tell them to do every single step and they're just not going to do it.
Yeah.
Oh, well, Stacey has no clue what he's talking about. Mike, he has no clue what he's talking about, right? All right, maybe not. And people do have to go through that process to learn, right?
Self-discovery is powerful.
But I go look at a Jeremy Larson or a Tina. They plugged into this group. They're very humble people, and they applied it in all their businesses. I mean, their business is both quadrupled, quintupled, whatever the next level up is. I don't know. But it's massive to see where Tina, I don't know what her original numbers were. Maybe she was selling 200 a year. Now they're like 550.
Yeah.
They have plugged in, executed to perfection, right? They all cut out that time. We've doubled our business. This year, we'll have tripled our business since we left, in end of 18. And I think it was end of 2018. Mm-hmm. And there's reasons for that. I just didn't happen to get smarter one day. I just got in better rooms that gave me better advice on how to scale a business much quicker.
Well, a lot of agents talking about doubling and tripling. So a lot of agents, if you're going from 10 to 20, that's basically you're going to set more appointments. Yep. If you're going from 20 to 40, then you absolutely need leverage. You need help. You need operational help. And when you go from 40 to 80, that in itself is a feat, and you're going to need more help. But when you start going from 100 to 200, from 200 to 400, or from 30 million to 60 million, from 60 to 80, those are huge leaps. And you can't just do that by sheer work. I mean, that you have to have systems, you have to have operation people, you have to have agents, you have to have, a whole more people and more lead sources and better systems with your database. And so, like you said,
and a ton of patience.
And
grow stronger leadership skills along the way. A lot of stuff's involved. It's not, it's definitely not the easiest thing we've ever done.
I mean, it's like you just said. I mean, like, it's kind of like, when people say we have an app for that. Well, any kind of issue, scenario, problem, growth strategy, anything that there is out there, our group has the answer for that. And it's like you said, you could take somebody that's doing 50 units a year and say, I think I want to build a team. They could achieve what we're doing. Well, it took us 10 years in 3 to 5 years easily, and save several $100,000 in mistakes. Yep. And, a lot of people don't want to do that. But if you even want to just sell 36 homes a year and take 3 months off, there's people in our group doing that too.
Yep. 100% all day long.
Just being in the right rooms. Well, speaking of the right rooms, you and I get a lot, we know a lot of people in the industry and a lot of people in Georgia. and we have a lot of friends that are, doing well. And there's a lot of people that have a lot of questions for us about our brokerage, and a lot of people have asked questions. I think there's like all brokerages, there's a mixed message of what it really is. And, I think next week, in the next week or two, you and I, we talked about this earlier, we're going to come on here and just really lay it out what exactly our brokerage is, compare it to some other brokerages in the area that are here, and talk about the model in general. And for all of those of you that know us and see our names come up on the phone and don't want to pick it up because, oh my God, they're going to recruit me. That's not it. This is an informational video that we're going to do, because I think if everybody took a look at the different models out there, they would realize there's more than where they are right now. And some models are way better than others, especially if you're in a capping model.
Yeah, 100%. It's after being in the business for, 10 years now, it's agents need to do their homework and completely understand. First of all, if your brokerage is telling you negative things about another brokerage, that is your number one sign. You probably should go look under that hood, if nothing else, to explore it. Because I do believe the new model in real estate is going to have to, broker's going to have to make a massive investment in the agents and partner with them, right? And partner with them in a way they've never done before. And you will see the EXP models now being ripped off and duplicated, by other firms, because they see that it is the model of the future.
That's right.
And agents are becoming shareholders, not some funny little word called stakeholders, right? Like I actually own a decent chunk of EXP Realty because I'm an actual owner of the company. And when you're an owner and you have skin in the game, you care more about the brokerage. You want to see the brokerage do well. You want to see it grow, right? And we can talk about next. We can talk about all the reasons why I think, and don't take my word. Go look at Wall Street. Wall Street has ranked EXP as one of the top real estate stocks to buy. And there's reasons behind that, right? Because most brokerages just own agents. And if they don't have agents that are producing, right? Well, you've got to peel the hood back a little bit and look about what's making certain companies really productive and profitable. And, at EXP owns a ton of different companies, assets, call them assets, that you and I own, that I think is it's a big difference maker than some of the other companies out there that, either the agents, maybe they are in a publicly traded model. And if they're not, they don't own anything at all, other than they own a job, most likely, and probably have a limited view of how to get off the hamster wheel. So I do think it's for agents. They do need to take a look at all the different models. I mean, not just EXP. They should be out looking at 3-4 different models and making sure that they're getting the right ROI for wherever they plant their flag, right? At that brokerage. So I tell them all, hey, go explore these 3 or 4 other models and then come back and we'll discuss, whether this is the perfect one for you. Because I do think for a certain demographic of agents, EXP is an absolute no-brainer, and would almost be, financial suicide not to be here, because I do think it's that important. And it's got a couple different paths to get off the hamster wheel selling houses for the right agents, right? And we can dive into that next week and talk about what that agent profile looks like that are excelling, like, you, me, and a lot of the other agents that have joined EXP.
Yeah, we'll break it down, talk about what it means to be an owner, what that looks like. Everybody pays a cap, and hopefully everybody pays a cap at your brokerage. If you don't, you are paying too much. I don't care how much money you make. You are paying too much. You need to have a cap.
Some people like to pay a ton, Mike, for quote unquote convenience or
the brand. I mean, you got to have your own brand, man. You can't. Yeah, I mean, I love them too. Some of the best people in the industry. I'm like, I can't believe they do that. But anyway, but yeah, we'll talk about the cap structure and what that looks like. And one of the benefits that we have, we'll go into this next week, is at a certain production level, you can get your entire $16,000 cap back in company stock. And the production level is about 32 units a year. 28 to 32 units, and you are a icon agent, and you get your whole cap back. You've got to do some cultural requirements, but like, who wouldn't want to do that versus not getting it back? It's like I don't understand it. Now that I'm here, it's like, I can't believe everybody's not seeing
Well,
it.
I'll put it in perspective here, and maybe we hit on this, maybe we don't, is I spent 10 years in another brokerage and I paid them to be there, which you did the same thing. It's the first brokerage ever been that they pay me to be here.
Yeah.
It's a big difference. And I think a lot of agents, especially if they've had some success in their career, they should take an opportunity, look at the model and say, hey, dude, you guys are crazy. Or they may be surprised what they see under the hood.
Well, when you're doing a certain level of production, you're capping at 16 grand cap. You're acquiring thousands and thousands of shares of stock, and people are like, well, it's not sustainable. The stock's bad. I'm like, the last company I left, I paid 10 caps, 180 grand. They didn't have any. I got a plaque. Yeah. I mean, I can't do anything with it. It looks good, but stock, even if it's $1, it's an asset. It's tangible, something you can use towards your future. You can buy a rental house with it, something.
Yeah. I mean, most agents are scared of stock. They're scared of publicly traded companies, mainly because it's fear and they don't understand it.
Right.
Which, that's more opportunity for you and I. But you and I have a lot of friends, and we're, our goal is to bring as many friends that we have over here, right, to expose them to what we've been exposed to really set them up in the future to where this model that makes us owners is so different. And I mean, Mike, I bet you there's less than 3% of agents, and I'm probably being generous, that have an exit strategy out of the business. What typically happens, so I have time, then they hit 50 and they're like, wow, God, I want to retire by 60, but I got to keep selling houses. But if I go to the beach for a month, I don't have any income because I'm not selling houses. They have no other way off the hamster wheel, right? And I get calls like this every single day. Yep. I talk to 2 to 4 agents every single day that are in that part of their journey. They're not sure what to do. And that's why you and I are out talking to a lot of different people. Mm-hmm. Like we're setting ourselves up or have already set ourselves up to exit and still have a tremendous amount of income coming in from different income streams, mm-hmm. 2 or 3 of which were generated at EXP. Right. And that's where I think agents need to be like, oh, wow, maybe these 2 guys aren't as big as knuckleheads that I thought. Yeah. Maybe they're onto something here. Maybe I need to explore that to have that option for retirement. Because unfortunately, I think most people think about retirement when it's time to retire, right?
Yeah.
Right. And so, and that's why we always joke, it's like, how many, agent retirement parties do you go to? Few to none. Now, I said it 100 times, you are going to roll me into my last closing because I love it, but I'm going to retire and then rewire, and I can do it. I can do real estate from anywhere in the world, especially in our model. But I do think agents need to take a long look. If they're in their early 40s, they need to, what does 50 look like doing this business? How can I create some additional revenue streams or an opportunity where I could go to Europe and travel for 3 months and still have income coming in to where I can sustain a lifestyle that I was used to when I was back married to a job or real estate or whatever it may be. And I don't think a lot of agents think like that until it's too late.
Well, if you're an agent, no matter how old you are, but if you're an agent from 40, say 45, we'll call it 48 years old and older, and you're selling 35, 38, 40 plus homes a year, that's a good living. You can make a good living. And if you have got a great system, then you have some time. But if you're doing that many deals, 3, 4, 5 deals a month, it is, you are unfortunately at the mercy of the buyers and the sellers and the attorneys and the lenders and all that. And I signed an amendment to address concerns last night at 10 p.m. last night. I've been in the business 10 years, 12 years full time. And so all that to say, if you don't have, if you are at that age level where you can say, I don't really want to be doing this in my 60s and 70s, the only option you have is to sell more houses, lose your time with your loved ones, and save an incredible amount of money in hopes that you'll have enough at that time. And that's not, I thought about that and I was like, there's no way I'm going to put me or my family in that position in 7 short years, at 60. There's just no way. I mean, you got to have multiple income streams. You got to have an exit plan.
Yeah. I think if anybody's looking and let's say they have a 10-year exit, right? They've got 10 years before they want to retire, rewire, whatever you want to call it. Now is the time to put that into place because, even if I'm just using the EXP model in a 10-year period where I would have been paying out another, $18K cap at 10 years at $180K, What if you flip that, right? And you actually are able to put a minimum of 180K in your bank account, whether it's through stock, through rev share. That's a $360,000 swing. And I don't think a lot of people think like that. And it's reality if you're able to identify the model, come in and be patient, put the time in, and in 10 years, it's going to look a lot different than if you're at a brokerage you rent versus a brokerage you own, which would be.
It's like owning a property, rent a property. You're renting your brokerage, you own your brokerage. Which one pays out better in the end? It's a no-brainer.
Yeah. And then there's a model for everybody, right? That's why Baskin Robbins has 31, 32. I forgot how many flavors they have. The difference is I want the one flavor that's going to benefit me the most as I want to own Baskin Robbins, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Right? I want to own a portion of the company that I'm helping build, and that company is going to reward us with it. I mean, there's going to be a ton of knockoffs because EXP has innovated this model. And I'm going to say it right here. None of the knockoffs are ever as good as the original. We all know that.
First to market always dominates. Amazon, Airbnb.
Yep. They can all dip your toes in that model, see what it's work. And then because we've already vetted pretty much all those models and we're smart. We looked at all those models too. Right.
I looked at every one of them before I moved to EXP from Keller Williams. That was part of what took me so long. You're like, what are you doing? What are you waiting on? I said, I'm looking at I'm Compass, all of them. I looked at everything. And
but we've also looked at them since we've been here. We've looked at Rio, we've looked at Fathom.
Yeah. We've
looked at all the other copycat. I mean, you sent me a text the other day that you got. They're all knockoff versions of that, right? And that's cool. You and I both vetted all those models, and it's like, we don't see how it's a better model, and by far, or else you and I might have been, hey, maybe we go take a look over here. Cause it's, if a company's going to align with us as owners, and we still haven't been able to find one that's set us up as owners and setting our future up for both us, our kids, and possibly even our grandkids.
One last thing, I know we've got to wrap this up in the 40-minute mark, but one last thing, it's kind of like programming. Like, we are who we spend our time with. We are what rooms, whatever news channel you watch, that's what you think, whatever programs you watch, that's what's in your head. And to be around, like in our company, and every company has their benefits, but being in our company where we literally are watching people that are making, enormous amounts of money, saving time, growing these big businesses, providing so much value for their teams and their agents and their groups. It's not scary anymore. It's not like, oh, it can't be done. It's being done. Yeah. Like you and I, and one of the things I love, you and I, is as much production as we do, we're kind of on the low end of the spectrum in the group we're in. And that's exactly where I want to be. So to be able to see that, it just pounding in our heads every day, day in and day out, Dan Beer and Kyle Whistle and Jeremy Larson, all these people who are looking at me going, what do you mean you don't think you could do 300 units? My gosh, I'm doing 660 this year. I mean, wow. Okay. Let me get in a room and talk to you for a little while. So anyway, all that be said, there's a lot of opportunity out there for anybody who wants it. Do your diligence like you would a rental house, and spend some time and look at the right model for you, and just make sure it's the right fit for you. And, plant your flag and go to work.
Exactly. Well, cool, brother. Well, hey, I appreciate this time. And, if anybody's got any questions on the model, at least want to explore it, no strings attached, hit Mike or up, and we'll be happy to walk through you. Other than that, come check us out next Friday, or I guess we haven't really picked a day yet.
We haven't picked a day yet. Yeah. I may have jury duty. We got to see how that goes. So
exactly.
We'll get it worked out.
Cool.
All right. Have a great day. All right. See you soon, man.
All right, brother. Be good.
All right.